Welcome to Scott Bryce and Beyond the Service. During my time on the counter assault team, 3 years I spent there, I had the privilege of going to Fort Bragg. If you know anything about Fort Bragg, some pretty high-speed facilities down there. And I also had the privilege of going to Dam Neck in Virginia to not work with, but to use their facilities. So I got to go down and use the facilities. I'll just leave it at that. The facilities at Fort Bragg and at Dam Neck. At Fort Bragg, we had a liaison guy with us the whole time who was recovering from some wounds from battle. And he was very gracious, and we got to use their ranges, and we got to use their shoot house, and we got to use all kinds of stuff. It was very cool. I'd also been there, so I've been to that compound twice in my life. Now, you got to remember, I'm a United States Secret Service agent, fully vetted, TS, SCI clearance, the whole thing. But to get on the compound, you still had to give them all your particulars, and they had to run your stuff, which is fine. I did that right after 9/11. When I did that in probably like 02, 03, somewhere in there. Went down and as a post stander and watched a demo that the D boys did for Bush and Mrs. Bush. And I was a post stander for that one because I was so young and was still in the Charlotte field office. But man, those guys are high speed. It was impressive. So I got to see that as a working guy one day. And then years later, well, I guess a couple years later, I got to go as a CAT agent and use their facilities. And man, it's just so high speed down there. It was really cool. The reason I brought it up is because it's a funny story that I'm telling on myself. You're down there with the tip of the spear, and I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And so, you're trying to be on your A game every day. It was summertime. It was hot as Hades. And I was so jealous because those guys were down there in shorts and T-shirts, and they were doing their own thing. And some guys were on the pistol range, and some guys were shooting rifles, and some guys were doing different things. And we were fully kitted up, man. I was in my full kit all day, every day. And I was just flipping miserable. But anyway, it's the way Secret Service does things, and it's fine. But we were in the shoot house one day, and of course we've got their liaison guy, and then we have our guy that's an instructor who used to work for them, who's there, and he's still obviously very squared away. And then we had our instructor. So there's basically three instructors watching everything. And we come to this one hall, and we had so much crap on. Like, I always argued that we wore too much stuff, like gas mask and all this other crap. Like, I understand you need certain gear, but like, I always hated that stupid gas mask. It was in the way, it was cumbersome, and you couldn't move. And it's like, it was just too much stuff. But hey, it is what it is. So we were in this hall, and it was a shoot house. I think we were using live rounds. I think we were doing munitions. I don't remember, but we're in there, did a hard corner clear, and my buddy Jeff hit me, and I didn't have a good balance. I guess my feet weren't right, or my base wasn't wide enough, or whatever. When we did a high-low corner clear, and he hit me, I fell out in the hallway, and I was on my side. I was so mad and so embarrassed at the same time. I couldn't do anything but laugh. It really pissed me off because it made us look like the doggone Keystone Cops. And I was so mad at him. But then I got in trouble because I'm the one that got knocked out in the hall. And they didn't say anything to Jeff. And of course, you keep your mouth shut. You don't snitch on your buddy. But it's like, you just take it, right? And it was so humiliating. I'm like, I'm down here at this high-speed facility doing what we do, and I look like a donkey, and that was so embarrassing. Of course, we laughed about it later. But I'll never forget our instructor that used to work there. His name is Jim, and he said he always referred to you as your last name, Mr. Bryson. Mr. Bryson, what's your malfunction, or something like that? What's your primary problem? He was very robotic. I love the guy. He's awesome. He's very robotic. You could tell he was mad, but he was trying to compose himself because he's with his old guys. And he's like, Mr. Bryson, what's your problem? And I'm like, I got knocked off my feet. That's all I said. And they made fun of that for a long time. So for many, many years, during the right situation, somebody would reference, I got knocked off my feet. So that wasn't my best shining moment. And then I think that was the first time we got to do anything high speed like that. And then we went to Dam Neck next year, 2 years later. I don't know. I got lucky. I got to go to both places, but didn't have any snafus down there. That one was good. We got to use their facilities. We didn't really, they kind of just gave us carte blanche. We didn't even have an LNO. We just were doing our thing, which was really cool. I think I can remember the facilities. I have most of it locked in the memory bank. They're very, very cool facilities, which got me wanting to scratch that military itch that I never had, or never did, and which kind of led me down the CIA path, the GRS route, which I ended up later getting a job offer for, which I've talked about a little bit here. Ultimately turned it down. Applied there 3 times over a 10-year period, and on the 3rd attempt I got the job offer, but it wasn't meant to be, because I got promoted and I prayed about it and I went with my head and not my heart. So I know I made the right decision. In hindsight, I know I did. At the time, I felt like I was making the right decision, but it was super hard to have something that hard to get and then turn it down, because I just always felt like I wanted, I mean, listen, I've been a public servant my whole life, but being a cop is honorable and being a Secret Service agent was honorable, but I wanted to do more, which is so cliche and so childish, I guess. But I think that's how type A people are, right? We don't feel like we've ever done enough. But anyway, didn't mean to go on a diatribe there about some other weird stuff, but it got me on the path of thinking I want to go. Like, that ship had sailed. I was way too old to join the Army, and I was way too old to be, in the Navy. So the next best thing, or not next best, but my only avenue in would be through the agency and that paramilitary route, which of course is very high speed as well. And most of those guys are former, SEALs or Delta or Special Forces or Rangers or Force Recon or whatever. And I would have just been a donkey, but didn't take it, didn't do it. So it doesn't matter. I would have probably been the guy getting knocked out in the hall anyway. That was so freaking embarrassing. Anyway, got to laugh at yourself sometimes.